What's up? Welcome back, Warriors. Welcome back to the Warriors Walk series. We are live on IG, TikTok. Yeah, IG and TikTok. So I was finally able to get this set up. It's been it took me a good portion of the morning to get this set up. I thought about it last night to how I could do this, and I remember using this one app. So here we are live on IG and TikTok. Good morning, Warriors. Good morning. Last week we missed you. We missed you. We actually did an episode. We actually did an episode last week, but I was on assignment and I could not get it to upload the way I needed it to upload. It would not upload, and when it did upload, it uploaded like an hour long video, which was weird because the video was only 14 minutes long, 14, 15 minutes long. And so I wasn't sure why it tripled like that. That it didn't make any sense for that video to be an hour long. And then when I played it, the audio was distorted and just mangled. Couldn't use it at all. So what I'm doing today is rehashing, going over what I spoke on last Sunday about the book of Genesis. So let's get into it. The lessons that I took from the book of Genesis, as I'm already in the book of Exodus and enjoying that book. And so what we're going to do is recap Genesis, the things that have taken away from it, and get you out of here. It's going to be a short little video, so let's go ahead and jump into it. So the things that I learned from Genesis: faith and obedience. Faith and obedience, they go hand in hand. They go hand in hand. I don't even know how else to to amplify it, but it goes hand in hand. If God has told you anything, if God has promised you anything, you have to believe you got to believe his word for his promise. You have to. And in doing so, you have to be obedient within that, whatever he's told you to do, whether it's just following the commandments of loving thy neighbor, not breaking any of the commandments. You have to do those things. Being righteous. We have many examples of that. We have where Noah was the only one who was righteous in his time, right? Being obedient, being faithful to God. Important. There's consequences if you're not faithful and obedient to God. There's consequences for that. As we have another example of that, we have Adam with Eve, with Adam disobeying God and eating of the fruit. Consequences. They got kicked out of the garden. He had to start, working the dirt, had to start working the fields when everything was already provided for him. Disobedience. Then we have Abraham, where God promised him that he was going to make him great. He's going to be a father of many nations. And in those nations will be blessed because of him, right? We have Abraham leaving his land, his native land, and going to a land that he knew nothing about. Being obedient and having faith that God was going to provide, take care of him, do all these things. Another thing I learned was that you got to get out of your own way. You have to get out of your own way. God doesn't need our help to fulfill his promise. A great example of that, and what I mean, is Rebecca jumping in. Rebecca was told that that Jacob was going to be greater than Esau. She was told that before he was born. But because of what she heard of Isaac going to do was going to bless Esau, she decided to jump in and make sure that Jacob was blessed. And in doing so, caused just a bunch of nonsense for the whole family line, because the trickery was had. If you go back and read it, you'll see some questionable things in that storyline. When the servant went to go get went to go get Rebecca to marry Isaac. That there's a little section when I read it. I'm not gonna give you all of it, but when I read it, there was a section on that was like, interesting. And then you have the situation with Rebecca plan Isaac so that Jacob can receive the blessing, even though God had already told her that Jacob will be blessed, that the oldest will serve the youngest. You have that, and then you have. Let me see, where people, Abraham and Sarah, where they're stepping in and doing their own thing. He almost caused one king to almost lose his life because he lied about who Sarah was, because he was afraid. He was afraid that they may kill him for Sarah because she was so beautiful. And he thought surely they will kill me. So I had to say that I'm her brother. And he almost, because he had his own thoughts and had to figure out how this is going to work, he stepped in and said and told a lie, and almost that king almost lost his life. He almost lost his life. Those are the three things that I gathered from Genesis: faith, obedience, and God doesn't need my help. All he needs me to do and wants me to do is be faithful, be obedient to his word, and live a certain way. Live a certain way that is set apart from those who are not living that way. It is so, those three things are so simple, but it's so hard in today's world. It's so hard in today's world because we're so caught up on wanting things now. We have to see it now. It has to make sense to us. We question things. Those things that I just listed. We question things. We have to see it, and we want it now. Makes us falter, fail on faith. Makes us fail at being obedient. Makes us fail at allowing God to do what God is going to do. He doesn't need my help to fulfill his word. His word is going to be fulfilled. His word is going to be fulfilled. I just need to be obedient. I need to believe. That's it. That's all I have to do. So if you haven't read Genesis, I encourage you to go read Genesis. And while you're reading it, ask God to give you understanding of what you're reading. Give you an understanding of what you're reading. And make sure you're reading it from a place of wanting to know who God is. Not reading it from a place of, this guy said I should read it, so I'm going to go ahead and read this, and let's hurry this up. You're not going to get anything from it because you're not open to receive anything from it. You're not open to allow God to speak to you through his word. So you have to have an open mind. Your heart has to be postured towards him so that you can receive what his word is saying. It's amazing. Right now, Genesis is my favorite book in the Old Testament. And I know I've read, let me see, I want to say about 5 books in the Old Testament. But Genesis is my favorite because it is the introduction of who God is. It's a nice intro of who God is, from the creation all the way up to the children of Israel coming out of Egypt. Actually, to the children of Israel going into Egypt, being saved through Jacob, no, through Joseph, being saved through Joseph, coming into Egypt and being there, being able to establish and grow and grow and grow and multiply for 400 years. Even though in slavery, they grew. There was a great famine in the land. That's another story right there. Joseph being faithful to what God had showed him in his dream, that his brothers were going to be bowing to him. He ended up saving a nation because he was faithful. He didn't complain, according to the Bible. We didn't see any complaints. We didn't see any whining or why me, Lord? Why I got to be in jail? Why my brother's doing this to me? Why? We didn't see any of that. We saw Joseph doing what he was supposed to do. working as a second second in command in the prison, working second in command in the house of the captain. No complaining, according to the Bible. There was no complaining. He told the two people that were in jail with him, "Don't forget about me. That's about it. Don't forget about me." Because Joseph held on to what God showed him in his dream. So hold on. If God has shown you something, if God has spoke something to you, and even if God has not come to you directly, reading his word, if you know his word, hold on to that. Hold on to that. That is his living word. Hold on to that. Be obedient. And Peter says we ought to be holy because God is holy. Another passage says that it's impossible to please God without faith. So that lets me know faith and obedience are the foundation. You need those things. And Genesis literally shows you that from the start, from the creation all the way through. Genesis shows you faith and obedience. Faith and obedience. Faith and obedience. And then you have, like I said, the not getting in the way of God. I mean, we can't get in the way of God, but we can make the things that we're going through last longer. We can make the things that we're going through even worse by making things more complicated, by putting in our own thoughts, putting in our own feelings, trying to figure things out on our own instead of allowing God to make it happen. Instead of allowing God's plan to just unfold on its own, we can make things worse. A great example of Jacob. He lost about 20 years of his life because he played his dad with his mom, and he played his brother. Deception, trickery. Every seed, every seed we're gonna reap what we sow. He sowed a seed of deception and trickery. He had to repay that. He had to reap that. 20 years. 20 years. Go and read it. I'm telling you, go and read these. Start from Genesis 1 and just read and read. And again, ask God to give you an understanding of what you're reading. Ask God to give you an understanding of what you're reading. Open your eyes and open your heart to what you're reading. All right. So with that, as I hope that was thought-provoking, I hope that it was, I hope it pushes you to pick up your Bible and spend some time reading and seeking God. I hope that this one is a push, a nice little shove in the back to get you to pick up your Bible. If you're wondering who is God, what is God, why does all these people talk about God? Well, I'm hoping I'm giving you that little nudge to go ahead and pick up your Bible and encourage you to start building that relationship, to know who God is and who he can be for you. That's what I'm hoping. So with that being said, read more, pray often, be the light. We're called to be the light. Read more, pray often, be the light. This is The Warrior on the Warriors Collection Network. Have a good one. Warrior out.